Charlie, good afternoon.
How are you, Ross?
I'm well. Yourself?
I'm okay, but I'm not looking okay. Is that right?
You're a little blurry, but that's okay.
I don't know. It's my
we can still tell who you are because of that jersey
and maybe the white hair. Oh, I don't have that.
and the white hair and the rugby ball in the background. Otherwise, I wouldn't have an idea who you are. But sorry about my late arrival. I just got in just in time here. I was trying to get kids out of the pool in a Florida summer is not the easiest task in the world.
No, man.
So especially as they haven't been in one in a while, but I managed to drag them out and throw towels in them, and just got here in time to hear you guys talking Spanish in the green room. So I have no idea if you were talking about me or not.
Of course we were.
But that's all right. Welcome to episode 11. I was about to say 12. Episode 11, which is my lucky number, because it is my birthday on the 11th of this month. So my birthday is on Tuesday. So this episode is going to be great, even with my late arrival. Talking Florida rugby occasionally. I'm here with Charlie Velasquez. I am Ross Davenport, referee assigner, fatback, color voice of Rugby ATL, and maybe more rugby next season if MLR gets back going in February. We'll see. We're hoping to perhaps expand our broadcast map other than just Rugby ATL. But that seems like a long way away, Charlie, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It still really looks like it's never going to happen, but I'm sure it will.
The fall seems to be, with college football, seems to be canceling everything here. It seems like rugby is certainly not going to happen much before January. Some of these other gentlemen we're going to talk to tonight, though, will be playing rugby soon. I think we'll get to our young Globetrotters playing rugby around the world, played in Florida and now playing South America, Europe, and we'll chat with those four in a minute. Let's get to our three quick things, which I sent you very quickly earlier because I was scrambling this week. I'm going to take my glasses off because they're shining in my... Did you have time to set them up, Charlie? Or
I did not. I did not. You're just going to have to...
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to talk about today just came out, I think, on Thursday or Friday. MLR has hired Jonathan Kaplan and Chris Pollock to manage the officials in MLR. Now, I think that's a big deal. These two were obviously on the World Rugby circuit, refed at World Cups. So it can only be a benefit to MLR bringing in two of the formerly of the best referees in the world to organize things. It's a pretty big deal for MLR, I think. Charlie, you watched a bit of MLR last week. Last year, did you have any opinions on the officiating in general? Obviously, we had our own Lex Weiner in the middle on occasion. Hopefully, we'll see some more Florida people making appearance next year. But did you have any opinion on the officiating last year in MLR?
Not really. No, to be honest, I didn't watch too much.
Yeah, I know one of the Rugby ATL games we did, Scott Lawrence, the coach of Rugby ATL, was not particularly happy with that. I don't remember which referee it was. Listen, you're going to get referees that have bad days just like you have players that get bad days. But I think overall, the officiating was pretty good last season, and bringing these two in will only even make it better. So that's a good thing for MLR. Staying with MLR, our number two thing to talk about is Malachi Esdale, former UCF rugby player, former Naples Bear, former UCF football player, tried to play at University of Miami as well. There's talk of him potentially going on the Sevens track after last season, but he re-signed with Houston. So we will have another Florida representative still in MLR in Malachi Esdale. He had made quite an impact in his first year. So hopefully he continues to shine there in Texas. And then third thing, the Premiership resumes in England on Friday. Obviously, Super Rugby is all we've been really having at the moment. Aotearoa finishing up. It's technically already finished because the Canterbury Crusaders have already won it with 1 week to go.
That was a great game. Did you watch it?
I have not watched any of this weekend's games. So I do need to catch up. I've been slacking these last couple of weeks, but to get in the mood for Wasps losing, I will watch some Rugby Aotearoa this week.
Are they playing with full stadiums?
No. Well, not in England for sure. No crowds in England, at least for now. Obviously, they're still going to finish this last season, and then just like soccer, they'll start the new season. I think they're planning on doing it in October or so. So it'll be a quick turnaround again. So yeah, Premiership Rugby starts on Friday. I'm not sure if NBC Sports Gold is showing them. I haven't had a chance to check the broadcast listings yet, but NBC Sports Gold, as part of the rugby package last year with the World Cup, you got the Premiership as well. So hopefully they've still extended that through the end of the season. All the games are being shown in England for the first time. Normally, you only have 1 or 2 games, I mean, maybe 3 at most a weekend, as a courtesy to the fans that can't be there. BT Sport is showing all of the games on live on TV, so that's a good thing for all. And obviously, you may potentially be able to find somewhere on the internet that may be showing those games if you don't have NBC Sports Go. I'm not saying that's the correct way to do it by any means, but if you do a bit of sleuth work, you may be able to find those games online somewhere. I think Harlequins, I forget who they're playing, somebody on Friday night, but yeah, Friday and then game Saturday. We just got I was going to mention Kerry O'Malley from the Florida Rugby Union was going to give us a quick update on their side of things, but they plan to release an update by the end of the week on the fall season, and they will follow up with a town hall. She just messaged us there in the chat. So keep an eye out for that from the Florida Rugby Union. Again, I don't particularly expect anything much to happen until January. I had a question whether Surf in Sevens was going to happen in October, as had been rumored, but at this point, it's hard to say. I highly doubt it. It's only 2 months away. And obviously the numbers are only now just starting to go down here in Florida.
Maybe we have a shot at Beaufort, maybe in November.
Yes, potentially. I think the West Coast might be doing slightly better than us here on the southeast coast of Florida. So we'll have to see what happens. All right, let's get to business. There's enough of the nonsense here. So this episode, we're going to focus on some lads who played some of their formative rugby in Florida and are now playing around the globe. So let's bring them all in here, Charlie. Who's going to bring in first? Tomás Gallo.
Hey, how you guys
coming
doing
in first?
today?
Is that a Richmond shirt he's wearing? I can't see what that shirt is.
Yes, Richmond's shirt.
I won't hold it against him. There's Marcos Young. We'll
Hey,
get
how
to
you
you in
guys
a
doing?
second. Oh, yeah, well, I'm doing very well. Thanks, Marcos. Angus Kelly,
Hey, how's it going?
with the most Irish name I've ever heard on an Irishman. There isn't an Irishman. And then we have José Laphitzhondo, who's I don't know, where are you, José? I know you've got some background, but where are you exactly right now?
I'm in Key Largo right now.
In Key Largo.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, at least you're here. All right. Is that because you haven't been allowed to go back, or what's going on? You're just here for the summer?
Yeah, because of COVID, I was working from home in Argentina, so I was like, I might as well work from home with my family, enjoying the summer.
There you go. Yeah, we've had who was our previous guest, Charlie? That was one. Oh, I've forgotten his name already. From the Tridents, he's stuck in England at the moment due to COVID, but he's trying to get back here. So let's go in the order they arrived here. Let's go to Tommy Gallo first. Tommy, for those of you who don't know you, give us a bit of your rugby background and how you've ended up where you are at the moment.
Very typical. Started playing rugby at the age of 6 in Argentina. I was born here in the U.S., but later I moved in to Argentina with my family. Played a little bit of rugby at the Club San Carlos, is the school. And after that, came back to Weston, Florida. Started playing with Weston Wolfhounds. Years later, we started doing with my parents and Gavin McClevey and Matthew Hayden with OKAPI Wanderers.
Awesome. Let's talk about who your parents are, because you can't go without mentioning them.
Mariano Gallo and Mariana Gallo.
So yeah,
the great OKAPIs.
Two of the founders of OKAPI Wanderers Rugby, obviously one of the biggest clubs, not just in the state, but in the entire nation now, and have had some great success, both on and off the field. So Tommy, where are you playing at the moment? Tell us. So you left, you obviously finished up high school at OKAPI, and then where did you end up?
I went straight to London Scottish. I played there for a little bit. I did the academy system. Then they took out the academy system. I went to London Welsh, played second team, played first team. Then first team, it was good enough. I wanted a new challenge, something different. And I have one of my friends who plays in Richmond. He told me, look, they have a one club mentality. So they don't care who you are, where you started. If you got international caps, everyone goes through the system from fourth, third, and go beyond. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, awesome. So you've only got London Irish left to play for. Then you've been around the entire United States of London clubs, and you also played with Richmond. London Scottish used to play at the same ground. I don't know if they still do they?
Not anymore. London Scottish now are playing at Esher Club.
Okay,
if I'm correct.
Gotcha. That's an awesome experience. So you're on university over there at the moment as well?
Yes, I'm doing uni at University of Roehampton. I'm doing biomedical science.
Awesome. So let's go back to you from OKAPI. How did the move come about? How did you decide you want to go to England? And Oh, you obviously could have gone back to Argentina, like I know a couple of the other guys on here have. But why did you decide to go to England?
Because I wanted to test myself, wanted a new challenge, something to make me uncomfortable, something new. And when I went to England, I thought I was ready. I was like, I'm ready to play first team. And I like to compare it as I thought I was playing. I thought I had a really good IQ for rugby.
Right.
I was literally playing checkers here in the U.S. I was not ready. I was not fun at the beginning, but that's what motivated me to where I am today. So playing there, it's like chess. You have a reason why you kick. You have a reason why you pass. It's not about like here in Florida that bigger guys start smashing and that's the score. But it's much more difficult back in England.
There's a clip of you picking up at the back of the scrum in this little stuttery video. That was for London Welsh, I think. There, you still playing scrum half? You still playing scrum half, or what's going on with your position wise?
Scrum half, sometimes wing. Depends what the coaches need that day.
Awesome. All right, we'll come back to you in a minute. Let's get to our next one on the line here. I think in order is Marcos. Marcos, how are you, my man?
Good. How are you? Everything's good here.
Where are you coming to us from live today?
Right now, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, in Atlanta.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Well, we'll get to Atlanta in a second, but let's talk about your journey in rugby.
Well, I started in Miami in the BISCAYNE Rats. I played there my whole career up to when I finished high school, and then I moved to Argentina for the past 3 years, and I've been playing there 3 or 4 years, going on to my 4th, I think. And I played in C.U.B.A, Club Universitario Buenos Aires, in Argentina. I played U19, and then I played on the men's team, second men's team, and then first men's team.
Awesome. And let's go into Argentina while we have you, because obviously we've got another couple of Argentinians on. Talk about how is rugby set up in Argentina? Do you start playing as a club, obviously more than as a high school team, perhaps, than in the US?
So no, there the biggest thing is club rugby, and then you have school rugby, which is in like obviously school when you're in school,
right?
Which is everyone plays. It's more like for fun. You have like inter-school tournaments and stuff, but it's usually club is more important and it's a lot more competitive. Like people who actually want to play like good rugby play club rugby.
Okay, so did people play both club and for their school?
Yeah,
in Argentina?
Yeah, okay, you can play both.
And so games on Saturdays versus Sundays. So how does that work with game days?
So school rugby is during the week. It's like a small. Okay. It's just like 1 or 2 games. It's like a small tournament. Actually, it's a tournament, I think, but it's during the week. And then club games are all year round in the weekend. So, but it's split off by ages. So up to U15, it's on Saturdays. Okay. Then U15 to U19 Sundays. Then the whole men's thing is Saturdays afternoon.
Okay, so similar to the setup in England. England's the same way. When you're a kid, you play on Saturdays, and then once you get to what we call colts or U19s, U21s, you go play on Saturdays. So what are you doing in Atlanta?
Well, in Atlanta, I'm at the 404 program, which is an academy team for the ATL rugby MLR team.
Oh, I'm obviously very familiar. I haven't done their games this year. I know we've had a couple of Floridians there, Lucas Bystrocki, and I know Barrington McNutt from Tampa was up there. How's that experience been, and how did that come about?
For now, it's been great. It's been very professional, which I wanted to do. I wanted to experience the professional level, which is what the 404 is about. And it came about because Atlanta approached teams in Florida about a camp for high schoolers and juniors in college. Okay. And I got to talking to one of the managers, Santi Solini, and through conversation, the 404 just came up, and he said it'd be a better fit if I came up and tried for the 404. And
awesome.
Just played here.
When did you head up there? How long have you been there?
I got here 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow! Yeah, so you're just getting started. What's the plan for the fall? Obviously, you guys would have played in, was it the Atlantic Rugby Premiership? I think it's where they played last year, against the likes of Life. I know Boston Wolfhounds, Boston Rugby. I think Nyack maybe in that as well. What's the plan for the fall? Are they said anything whether you guys are going to play?
They said we would follow the Georgia high school schedule. Just Florida high school rugby, not rugby. The Florida football schedule.
Oh,
So
okay.
football schedule, and then we'll start when they start, which they're supposed to start 2 weeks after our pre-established starting date, but we'll see. It all depends on how the situation continues and what Georgia decides.
Okay, so you're just waiting for them to once they start, then you guys can get started.
Yeah.
So how's it been there since you've been there? So talk us through a week with 404 and how perhaps your typical week goes for you guys up there.
So we have training. I have gym 3 times a day, and we each have our own 3 times a week. I'm sorry, 3 times a week, not a day. 3 times a week, and we all have a set training group, like training time. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have practice either in the morning or the afternoon, depending what group you're in. I have the morning group, so I train from 7 in the morning to around 9, and that's a normal week.
And then how many of you are in the 404 program at the moment?
In our training group, there's like 24, 25. I think the other group is a little bit less, but around that same number.
Okay, and sort of a good mix of local guys as well as out of towners like you.
Yeah, I am.
Gotcha. Well, that sounds like an awesome program. Obviously, hopefully, you guys get to play in the fall. All right, we'll get back to Marcos in a minute. Let's go to the man sitting on the beach here. It appears in Key Largo. I could think of worse places to be. José Laphitzhondo. Give us a bit of your rugby history, José.
Hey, Ross. My liberal history. I started in Argentina when I was about 13 years old. When we moved to Miami around 18 years old, I started playing at FIU. Played there throughout college and played a couple of sevens games as well. And then played for Miami Rugby Club at the club level. And about 3 years ago, moved back to Argentina, played for a year and a half, which I was injured for quite a while in C.U.B.A. And then for the past year and a half, I've been playing at Los Molinos, which is, as Marcos was mentioning, it is a school, but it is transitioning into a club. So it's pretty interesting. It's a school with a club vision that hopefully in a couple of years, it's like a ongoing project, which is
awesome.
fun.
We obviously had Ronnie Suarez on a few weeks ago. Talk about your experience at FIU. So you moved here, at what age did you say, to Florida? 13?
No, I moved here.
18. So you moved here to go to college. So talk about the Florida college experience. Obviously, neither of these other 3 guys went through that. You did, obviously with a program that, just like any program in Florida, has its ups and downs. But obviously, while you were there, it was one of the better programs, in the Southeast.
Yes, we had a great team. We started off with Coach Gabe. You probably refed us a couple of those games, or you were around.
Of course.
No, we had a great run. I think the rugby at FIU changed a lot, especially with Ronnie coming in. We had a good base, but we made it to nationals at 15s. Also, some good performances in 7. It was a great run.
And we just saw a photo of you apparently playing football. I remember I saw that in your bio. I didn't realize this has even happened. Talk about your experience with FIU football and how that happened and how it was.
Yes, I do have. It's sort of an injury in one of my kidneys. Well, actually, kind of both. So that's why I played, if you remember, with a pad on my back.
Yeah.
That is why I got injured twice, where I had a hit in the kidney, peed blood, blah, 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 go to hospital until doctor said, hey, I strongly recommend for you not to play rugby. So I stopped and I said, okay, what can I do? And I was sort of a okay kicker in rugby, and I thought football was similar. And I really liked it because the intensity. We would have workouts. I'll wake up at 6:30, 7 something in the morning. I couldn't be late, not even a minute. I remember it was so pro. We would fly. The only bad thing is that you will just punt. So that was your job. But the intensity
yes.
And, cameras playing a stadium with 9,000 people, I couldn't believe it. And all the preparation was very fun. I wish I could have reached that level in rugby. It wasn't the case. But it was still fun. That's why I played football for a year. And after I finished playing, I went to one rugby practice and another one, and then I guess I'm back.
Yeah. So your football career is over for now, but the rugby career will continue.
Yes, it does at a lighter level, easier level, because you don't want to risk, and also because I'm not that good. I'm towards probably the end of my career, so we're not trying to get injured the kidney for life. So,
well, I'll always suggest picking up the whistle as an option. We had our referee. We have a referee association board members on last week. We've had another referee episode with obviously, the likes of Khalil and Haley and Cisco and Lex, and those that have taken them around the world. So you'll always be welcome to the dark side if you ever decide to go that way. Even though you're an FIU guy, I won't mention FAU's long-term success against FIU on the football pitch. Rugby pitch, I can't say as much, but we'll get back to you in a minute. Thanks, Jose. Let's get to our final man here, Angus Kelly.
Hey, how's it going?
Angus is currently playing at Cardiff Met, correct?
Yes.
Which, for those of you that don't know, Cardiff in Wales, and Cardiff Met, one of the strongest university programs in the UK. Angus, just give us a bit of your rugby history.
I was born in Argentina, and started playing when I was 6, just like Tomás here. And I played when I was 6 in Casi, which is a club in San Isidro. Played there till I was around 13, and then I switched teams to Alumni. And after that, when I turned 15, we moved here to Miami, and for the next 3 years played in C.U.B.A. Worked my way up and played some sevens with Atlantis and played some sevens with the U.S. And then I got the opportunity to go play at Cardiff Met, and from now on, that's it.
Alumni, I think they were the team that came over and played at Ruggerfest one year, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, I remember that as an awesome experience and an awesome weekend for them. Now, Cardiff Met, how did that come about?
From Di Morgan. He's a coach here. He coached, I believe, Naples. No, not Naples. Sorry.
Crew. Yeah, Tampa Crew. And
Tampa
Sarasota.
Crew.
And
Yeah.
Sarasota, yeah.
Went to one of the ERA camps for when they were trying to develop the ERA Florida team.
Sure.
And then he came up to me after and talked to me about the opportunity to go play there.
And how's that experience been so far? Mate, explain. University rugby in England, it's pretty serious. It's a little bit more serious than it is in the US. Obviously, you can always be looked at, for potential moving up to club rugby. So you just finished your first year there?
Yeah, I just finished my first year.
And how's that experience been so far for you?
Like Tomás mentioned, when you play here in the US, and then you get accustomed here to all the smashing, and once you move there, you realize that athleticism, being big, being fast can only take you so far. And it's just a big slap on the face, to be honest. And then you gotta focus on your skills and technique, and then try to become a better player over there.
Awesome. And we've seen, obviously, when I always tell guys that play in Florida, and they're good Florida players. And I said, well, let's see how you guys do outside the state first. And then it's sort of, well, let's see how you do outside the region. And people realize that, Florida rugby is what it is. It's a transient state. We have players come and go, like you guys, and teams have their cycles where they're good for 2 or 3 years, and then they're down for 2 or 3 years. And getting to experience, a lot of my friends that played with me at FAU have gone to play rugby in Australia and New Zealand, just realized, what a different world it is. What position you? I know you were more of a back row when you played here for C.U.B.A. What have you been playing in Wales?
Yeah, I've been playing mostly 8-man, but occasionally I play flanker.
And how many kids on that Cardiff Met program?
Oof, so there's 3 years of players. Well, could say 4 for postgraduate students. But depending on the year, for the U19 team, I believe there's about 40 players.
Okay, so you're divided. So there's not just one team. There's a team
many
for each
teams.
year.
Yeah.
Oh, 9 teams for one university.
There's on Wednesday we play on 2 different leagues, which is basically club league and university league. So on Wednesdays we play university teams, and then on Saturdays it's all club.
Wow, awesome! Must be an awesome experience being over there. Yeah, Da Young, now coaching in France, as far as I know. Yeah, I have to get him on one of these episodes. But no, big contributor to the success of a lot of Florida rugby players, and even from a lot of the East Coast. I mean, how many Americans? We'll consider you American for this purpose, but how many Americans on that Cardiff Met squad do you think?
There's 3 in my year, and there's one other one who's older than us. So there's a total of 4 Americans.
And everybody's fitting in all right, I hope.
Yeah, everyone likes it. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, 4 very different stories, but 4 players again that have sort of honed their skills in Florida and have gone elsewhere. And we'll get back to everybody here. We're going to get to some sort of more serious questions now. We'll go back to the top and start with Tomás. Talk about, maybe some of the differences in rugby culture that you were really shocked about when you got over there to England, both positive and negative.
Oh, I don't see any negative part of of the culture back there. It is shocking. There's nothing that could explain how it is. It's incredible. It's honestly, it's a shock in a good way. The way that the socials are, the way that the community it is, the grassroots, especially the grassroots with rugby, how it is. But yeah, I want to say in OKAPI we're trying to incorporate that a little bit, the rugby aspect of the rugby clubs. So after the rugby game, we go make a barbecue, bring all the kids from youth to old boys. So there is that culture back in the UK. So I say that's one of the good parts of it. And yeah, I think that's a good part of it.
So you're back here for the summer. When do you head back? And what's the sort of forecast for getting back to playing rugby? I think obviously Premiership starting this weekend, but I know maybe grassroots a little bit behind that perhaps. What's the plan for you going back started again?
From what I've told, Richmond Rugby wants to start, I think, the championship. This championship is the second English rugby league there in the UK. They want to start between January. That's what they are saying, January, February, till the end of June, but they have no clue, same as here. MLR wants to start on a different day, but nobody knows until COVID-19 calms down a little bit.
Right. So no rugby in the fall, amateur-wise for you. So what's your plan? To stick around here, or are you going to go back to university? Obviously, I would assume.
Yes. So now I'm doing online classes. That's what I've been doing right now, and I've been talking to a couple MLR teams. If I'm going to be stuck here, might as well play MLR for a little bit until I go back to England.
Now, how many teams at Richmond?
We have, I think, 6 teams for men's. So you got the first team, second team, third team, fourth. It goes beyond. Then we have Colts, like you said before. We have the youth. Yeah, it's Richmond. It's an incredible club. It is huge, massive. The years of incredible rugby players are playing there. I'm very fortunate to be accepted and play there at Richmond.
And what team did you spend most of your time playing for last year?
Third team.
Third team. And how did you mix that with the university? Similar to what Angus said, will they play on Wednesdays versus Saturdays or midweek?
No, we play Saturdays, only Saturdays with a rugby club. That's it. Because we'll do the... No, continue, sorry.
No, but you're playing for the university as well or just going to school?
No, I play with the university as well. Just to get extra conditioning and all that, I play Wednesdays with the university and Saturdays with a rugby club.
Okay, so similar to what Angus said. You haven't played against each other yet, right? I know you.
No. My unit's very focused of academics, so so they're not really good at the rugby.
Awesome, Marcos. You've obviously experienced, Florida rugby as well as Argentinian rugby. What do you see the differences between the two? And where do you think Florida needs to sort of get a little better, perhaps?
Well, what I've seen is, for example, the after the third half, what we call it. I don't know if there's people. Everyone who watches knows about the third half, which is. No, I just think here, everyone just in Florida, at least when I was playing, it was very much like quickly just go grab a slice of pizza and leave. And in Argentina, it's a whole thing. I mean, kids even like on Sundays, kids stay until like 9 at night. They're just like talking with their team and like chatting with the other team and stuff. And the men's team on Saturdays, we usually have like parties to include both teams, and then we invite girls over and stuff, obviously, to have like parties. But the difference is that there, for example, there's actual clubs. So every team has their own like I don't know how to say it correctly. What club? Everyone has a club.
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse where they can actually like get together and have these third halves and like shower and like be clean. So I mean, one of the reasons you want to just leave after a game is because you feel dirty. I mean, I remember after a game, I was destroyed. I just wanted to get home and shower, and then what I had at the club, I could finish the game, shower there, and like mess with my team, and then we would go to like the third half and eat and like enjoy our time. So I think, one way, it's very hard to do it here because it's super expensive, but to try to have like a clubhouse where teams could try to host like a third half, or to have like a more like entertaining, I guess, or involved third half, so both teams can enjoy it and create connection through that, like after that second part of the rugby.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I know the South Florida teams like OKAPI and Key Biscayne with the heavy South American influence have really tried to do it, at the field. And listen, it's been a success to a certain degree, but again, as you said, you can't shower at the field, and it's humid in Florida pretty much all year round. What's the setup there with the 404? Whose facilities do you guys use, and where do you stay at the moment?
So Atlanta is one of the only teams that has their own clubhouse. So we have a clubhouse that has a gym, and we do our gym work there, and they have a shower, and we have a team room, and most of the stuff happens there. There's even a place for socials. I was told there was a place for socials there, which they're rebuilding. I mean, they're building now. But training we still do, as most U.S. rugby teams do. They train at a park or like soccer fields, or depending. We trained last week at Life. That's where Atlanta also plays its MLR games. And then this week we're training at another facility, at another soccer field training. Yeah,
I was going to ask you how much you get to use the Life facilities. Obviously, they're very good. How much of the actual Rugby ATL coaching staff do you see, or does 404 have a separate staff?
So what I understand is that I've seen, for example, Scott Lawrence has been training with, like, coaching us. Nessie Malifa has been coaching us.
Yep.
I think Nessie Malifa is actually the head coach for the 404.
Yes.
And he's the backs coach for the MLR team. So I mean, we get to be in contact with all the coaches of the MLR team, and training staff is all the MLR's training staff. So like Matt Dallow, and so on. The training staff.
Awesome. Are there any other Florida guys at the moment working with 404? I know Lucas was last year. We sent friends from FAU was up there for a little while last year. But is there any other Florida guys up there right now?
There's one more guy from Daytona Beach.
Okay.
I don't remember his name right now, but there's one more guy from Daytona. He went to Arkansas.
Was he the one that was drafted? It was one that was drafted, but I don't know whether Atlanta drafted one of the guys from Daytona. I can't remember.
I don't think. Maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that. Yeah, I haven't really. I mean, like I told you, we're separated in different times. He's not in my gym session. He's injured, so he's not training like with us right now. So I really haven't been much in contact with him because he's outside of my session. So I mean, we do keep that very.
Well, what position do they have you playing up there, Marcus?
Right now, I am at 10. I think we haven't really done positions, but I've been taking over kind of as a 10 while we do different skill works and we do different.
Obviously, Rugby ATL with some seriously talented 10s. Kurt Coleman obviously came over from South Africa, and then we've got Duncan Van Skolkwijk, but he plays 9 for Rugby ATL, but played 10. He's basically a local legend from leading Life to national championship there at 10. So you've got definitely some good players to learn from once the ATL guys get back. That'd be an awesome experience. Let's go back to Jose. Jose, I'm going to throw a trick, not a trick question at you, but one that I didn't give to you. What's going on with the Jaguares? What's the deal here? How is Argentina feeling right now about the Jaguares situation?
No, I mean Marcus is also knows about it, but I think it's over. They don't officially say it, but the top players have left the team. Petty, like the top players, I don't know, 5-6 of them, Moroni as well, they've left. So I mean, they're looking for a challenge, maybe with South Africa or a tournament to join, or New Zealand. But the mood is it's going to be difficult for them. So they're figuring out whether they can play club, but then the level of the Pumas player, if they play locally, may decrease. So they wouldn't be prepared to play the rugby championship with New Zealand that they have been practicing and playing.
Now, at the club level in Argentina, is it representative rugby as well between club and Jaguares? Can you play for your, say your state or where do you go if you're a better, if you're a better player? at your club? What's the next step up in Argentina?
There is a league that you play, like you said, your state.
Okay.
They play against each other. It's called what is it? Argentina 15. No, there's two actually. There's an inner league between states, and then there's a before Pumas. It's called Argentina 15. They play against
and the ARCs. Yeah.
What is it called? Is it called American something? The American
Yeah,
Championship.
the American Rugby Championship. Yeah.
That one. If you but there's a big difference between club level and Jaguares. Also, to add to the question that you asked, Marcos, I think also the big difference between clubs in Florida than in Buenos Aires, Argentina, it's not only you have the clubhouse, which is different, but also it's quite frequent for players to go and watch a couple of games of your teams before you actually play. So if you're on the first team, you watch from the 7th all the way till your turn to play, and so you spend the entire day, and that builds a culture, a network, and a friendship for players to stay the entire day on the club.
Yeah, for those of us that grew up, with rugby more than some Americans did, I don't think they really understand that your life sort of revolves around rugby rather than the other way around. In the clubhouse, is sort of seen as a central get-together spot. And it is unfortunate that no Florida teams. I think Sarasota, perhaps being the only Florida team. I know Atlanta and some of the teams in New Orleans have started to get their own clubhouse, and hopefully here we'll get to that stage at some point. Let's get on to Angus here, back again. Angus, how does the university culture differ? Obviously, you didn't go to university here, but obviously Jose played at the university level, and I'm sure you know a little bit about the university system here in the U.S. But how do you feel the university system there differs from Florida and the U.S. in general?
The biggest thing I'd say is definitely the amount of students that are per university. In the UK, there's not that many students in the university. The campuses are not as big. But when it comes in terms of rugby, it's the university team is just like it's more like in Argentina. It's a club. You meet, you hang out with them every day, you train with them every day, and you watch the other teams play as well. It's not you go play the game and then you leave. It's a lot like in Argentina, which is like in the UK. You just your life revolves around rugby.
What sort of crowds do you guys get for the university games there?
Oh no, not too many. There's not too many people watching most of the games, but when sometimes we play in the Cardiff Blue Stadium a couple times a year when they're in the Cardiff Derby, which is Cardiff University against Cardiff Met, and then there's a lot of people watching those games. But the typical just season matches, you get just mostly just other teammates and people that are part of the club and friends.
Awesome, man. And looking down the road for you, obviously, Cardiff Met is a 3-year or a 4-year program there?
It's a 3-year.
3-year program. Okay, yeah. So the plan is to stick it out there and then sort of see what opportunities maybe present themselves over there or back here?
Yeah. So, well, for right now, it's play over there and hope to make the USA U20s and try to get to play at the highest level possible.
Yeah, talk a bit about that. Obviously, still being in the USA Eagles system, but playing overseas, how do you get? Do you send video back to your coaches? How does that work? How do they keep an eye on you?
Well, since I only played like half a year before the last tournament in the UK, before my last tournament that I played with the US, your selection was mostly based off your previous performance with the US. So I played in the Can-Ams in Vancouver. Just a series of 7 games, and then based on that performance, because there were 2 teams that were selected, it was the USA Stars and USA Stripes, and then they made one team to take to the New Zealand World Sevens U19.
Awesome. When was the last time you played for US representatively?
It was on December.
Oh, in December. It seems like 2 years ago now. But obviously, they still keep in pretty good touch with you, even with all the nonsense that's going on with USA Rugby.
Yeah. We had they ended a month ago, but we were having weekly calls, just reviewing Premiership gameplay, reviewing some of Super Rugby plays from last year.
Oh, fun!
And then also reviewing the Eagle system, just to keep fresh.
Good stuff. Let's go back to Tomás. Tomás, was there Was there a moment when you got over to the UK that sort of really brought you to sort of a standstill? You're like, damn, not that you weren't ready for it, but like, I need to really step up my game. Was there one moment where you really felt that, or a game, or?
When I was invited to the London Scottish first team practices, I was doing really well in the academy games, practices. I was doing really well, and I got invited to the practices, and you saw these big guys, international players, people who've come from England counties, England U20s. I was like, it's like, ooh, what am I doing here? And then and they were really tough on me too. A lot of high tackles. They were testing me in a good way. I liked it a lot. When I was in the first team practices, I had Dino Waldron.
Oh, yes.
Waldron, if I'm pronouncing it. He was with the London Scottish players, so he helped me through a lot too with pushing myself. He helped me with U20s, helped me push for U20s camps actually. So he's the reason I got selected for my second camp for the U20s All-American.
Awesome. And how's your situation with USA, the USA Rugby setup at the moment? Where do you stand with all that?
As of now, I'm trying to push for, again, Eagles 15, so I'm not really a sevens player. I'm more of I like to run around and boss people. You've seen me. You've seen me in high school games.
For sure. And was there one part of your game that you felt, had a deficit more than others when you got to England? Than some of the people you were playing with, maybe?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, was there any particular skill, rugby skill that you had that you thought, I really need, these guys here in England really have this down, and I need to work on it when you got there? Perhaps the Florida Rugby didn't give you.
I think I was playing scrum half. Obviously, my job was pass, kick, and that's it. But when I went to England, it is a bigger job than it's supposed to be. Obviously, I did not know that. I thought my job was like, here, catch it, I'm gonna kick it, and that's it. But you must be at least 2 steps ahead of your teams and teammates, because again, that the rugby EQ, it is incredible. Again, you have to reason why you pass it to the props. Why do you pass it to your fly half? Is there a reason you're kicking? Are you kicking to gain yardage? Are you kicking because on your pressure? When I got to England, I've literally started from zero. What I knew here, it could not be applied there. I have to start from zero.
Awesome. Now let's talk a little bit more about Richmond. You said they're playing in the championship. Obviously, people are familiar with the Premiership. Championship, I know a lot of the funding has been cut by the RFU this year. How do Richmond consider themselves a professional organization? Do they pay do they pay? Obviously, I'm sure it's like Atlanta where people get paid. There's some full-time pros and there's some part-time pros, and then there's some perhaps guys that get played per game. But how does it work at Richmond with that? Obviously, you're going to get in the numbers, but how does it work with regards to paying with the
numbers? I have no clue, but I know that we are a part-time professional rugby team more than a lot of the other championships. Like I know London Scottish is part-time, but the rest of like Jersey Reds, all those Saracens are full-time.
Right? Yeah, Saracens, obviously. Yeah.
So yeah, all those guys are full-time because they have bigger budgets. But yes, we are part-time Richmond, but sometimes we get loan players from Harley Quinns, and those who don't get enough playing time, they come to the first team or second team to get more playing time.
So how many of the squad would you say have other jobs? I mean, obviously in the third team, I would assume a lot of them have other jobs. But
we have doctors, we have engineers, you name it. Everything, even the big guys, you think, he doesn't have a full-time job with kids, 40 years old, but he's a beast in the field. So you have a little bit of everything. So I think that's good because you can at least find something in common with all the players, no matter what the age or what are your first team, second team, third team.
For sure. Marcos, is it a similar mix at 404? Is there a lot of guys that, I assume most of the squad are on the younger side of things, but are there some older guys as well that are helpful in the numbers?
So the 404 is a mix of like young and old. I mean, there's 2 or 3 that are younger than me. There's one kid that's 20. And most of the guys here work. So if you're 404, you work through the 404 season, and you work you work through the 404 season. I mean, they do offer some housing scholarships. I'm on the housing scholarship. So but it's not that they offer it to everyone. I mean, they offer partial scholarships also, but most of the guys work, and it's just varied ages. I mean, I was rooming with a guy who was 30, and now I'm rooming with guys who are 24 and 26. So it's just all over the place.
No, it's great. I mean, I think that's one of the best parts of MLR is that a lot of these teams are, establishing these. I'm not going to call them academies because you said there's older players, but sort of these developmental sides where they can really see if these players are ready for the next level.
Yeah.
Obviously, American the pro, the American Rugby Championship that you guys are playing on the East Coast. There was some of the best teams on that East Coast is really going to see if you guys have what it takes. I mean, what's the plan for you, Marcos? Is it sort of a year by year thing, or are you just there just as long as you want, or as long as they want you there? I guess. How does that work?
So, for me, the best option would be to get a contract. I mean, obviously, I'd love that. Right now, I'm doing college online, so this is just right now. It's just hoping to get a contract, and if I don't, it's just a good experience to see what pro life is like and what actually living like a pro rugby life entails. Even if I'm not getting paid for it, I'm still training like if I was a pro. I'm eating like if I was a pro. I'm living the life of a pro, but I'm still in school and still doing that stuff. So yeah, best case scenario, I would try to get a contract, but if I don't, then I would head back to Argentina in November, continue college and continue playing for C.U.B.A, and then see what goes from there.
So you're sort of just planning on it for a few months for now, and then just kind of see what happens.
Yeah.
Does 404 have guys on contract, or do you sort of mean with Rugby ATL? Are there guys that are on? Say you're here for a year.
So there's guys. From what I've seen, there's guys in the 404 that are reserves for the first team. So if someone gets injured, they go up to the MLR team. There's guys. My last roommate, Paris Hollis, he played in the Atlanta team, and this year he's 404 again. He started in the 404. So it's a mix. I mean, you have players who do the 404 for like what I'm doing until November, or you have players who have been in the 404 this whole year, 2020, who have been all 2020, and were the end of 2019 also in the 404. So you have a mix. It's a mix of everything. You have local players. You have players who played MLR already. You have players who are just bettering their skills, and it's just a very big mix of type of players.
No, it's awesome opportunity. Hopefully, obviously, there's the talk about Miami getting a team in 2022, and hopefully, a developmental program will be part of that. Jose, you're back with us. We lost you for a second there on the beach. Not sure if a shark dragged you away for a second or whatever, but
I switch phones.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you obviously played on both sides of the Americas. What advice would you give to perhaps a young player here who, a South American perhaps who is looking to take their game to the next level?
Well, kind of like Tommy said, that even if you think you're good here, then in Florida, then it's gonna get real when you play outside. But the best advice would be just to go out there, to try out, to give it a shot, maybe for a couple months, to give it a shot. But for that, it will be a slap on the face when you think you know how to play and about the game. And I remember when I played first practice back in C.U.B.A, I remember there was a hole, and I just went through it. I thought it was going 100% speed, full speed, and it just closed on me so quickly. Got tackled from both sides. I was like, wow, this is real. And then my friend looks at me and he said, hey, this is the 7th team. We're I was like, and then I was surprised and happy because everyone passed it left and right and the ball swung. I felt like we were Barcelona. And then I looked at the first team and no. So it was totally different. We had a couple of practices that we actually faced each other with Marcos. I'm older than him, a couple of years older.
Right.
But he got stronger. I remember at the rug, he beat me twice in a practice, and I was like, oh man, my outsize is not working anymore.
Yeah, that's the one thing everybody says about playing at that next level is just the speed of the game.
Yeah.
Everything just moves faster.
Yeah.
How many clubs are there in Buenos Aires, or in the sort of Buenos Aires vicinity, you think?
Marcos, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
No, that's one of a big difference is here when you go play, it's a couple hours drive. Most of the games. Well, over there, 1 hour drive, it's the most you're gonna do, and you're gonna find I don't know at least 50 teams or
Wow.
more. I think that there's 7 different tiers in Buenos Aires, and they have I don't know 15 teams each one, so 15 times 7 at least. Like that's a minimum. That's just club. You also have schools, so there's a bunch of teams that you can go to.
How's the refereeing down there? Obviously, with a ton more teams, you would hope you have a ton more referees too. But how's the refereeing in Argentina compared to Florida? Don't throw me under the bus.
Not as good as you, Ross. Trust me. I wish we can find someone like you here, or like one of the Florida people that we had that ref does. No, but it's good. I'll say it's good. Charlie asked me the same. I didn't see any major differences. But there is like a league and competitive people that really work hard to get to referee the first teams. It's like a competition, and is not
Sure.
anyone can do it. They have to be super fit, and the rules, they get criticized, so it's like a tournament itself, or like a game itself.
Yeah, we obviously had Damien, I think the Argentinian, right? He came up here. I remember ref USA Chile, and he's made his way onto the 7th circuit. Damien Schneider's done real well. Angus, I'm going to ask you that same question about when you went over there, sort of your first wake-up moment to this isn't Florida rugby when you went over to Wales.
Probably the first game I played. I actually played a game before having any practices. I got there, got to the school, got to my dorm, set up, and then that night I got a text from the team group chat. The coach is saying, "Friendly tomorrow against it was a military team."
The first day you arrived, it was the next day.
The first day, I'm like, all right, I want to play. I mean, I came here to play, going to sign up for that game. It's a little friendly, and it was just 260-pound Fijians everywhere, and they just murdered us. It was a lot of fun. It was a really rough game, but just as Tomás mentioned, in the UK, everyone's thinking 3 phases ahead. Everyone knows what's going on. Obviously, I didn't, because I didn't even know the system we were running, and that was really bad. So I was very mixed up, but it was a really good time. And the handling, I'd say, is probably the biggest difference. You have a prop and a hooker that have better handling than any fly half in Florida.
Yeah, it's just the rugby intellect. Those guys have played just so many more games, than anybody here in Florida. But now, obviously with the youth rugby getting better here, you hope that, the kids picking up the ball at 8 continue to play it all the way through. But there, yeah, you're playing against guys there that have been playing, for 12, 13 years.
Yeah,
at that level, against guys that are just as good as them. What do you think, coaching-wise, Angus, is the biggest difference you've seen over there?
I'd say just the experience that the coaches have. Obviously, in Florida, it's hard to get a coach with lots of experience because the U.S. it's growing a lot, and rugby is growing a lot, but there's not much history in it. Over then in the UK, we have coaches who have, for example, Danny Milton. He's our head coach. He's been part of. He's coached Scotland. I don't know what his position was, but he's on the coaching team there. We have many people a couple coaches who used to be British and Irish Lions, and it's a lot more strict, I'd say, just from the amount of since there's a lot. It's not mostly about the coaching, but since there's so many players, coaches are a lot rougher on the players because anyone can take your spot at any moment. But obviously, with Florida teams, there's not as many players, so you don't have the ability to do that. So the relationship between the player and the coach over there is a lot more strict. With our coaches here, we have good times. Over there, you can have good times, but sometimes it gets a little rough.
Yeah, how does the coaching setup work at Cardiff Met? Is there sort of one head coach over the program, like a director of rugby, and then how many coaches does each team have?
So the head coach of the whole program is Danny Milton, and then there are 2 coaches for the U19. There are 2 coaches. And then those coaches can also coach on Wednesdays, which are for university teams. Okay. But around the whole coaching staff, I'd say there's maybe 15 coaches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tomás, how about at Richmond? How's the coaching setup work there? Does each team have their individual coaches, or is there sort of a director of rugby as well? I assume there is.
We have a director of rugby. His name is Steve Hill. He manages all the teams from 1 to 6. He manages everybody, but from director, we have all head coaches in each division. So in my occasion, in the third team, we have 3 coaches. the one who manages all that is Dominic Palacio. He's the one who helps me a lot with the passing, the kicking. So he manages that session. Then you have the second team and it go beyond. But what I give a lot of respect to Steve Hill is that just no matter who you are, what international caps you all have, where you played before, if you're good, you'll be good enough for the first team. If you're not, you're not. So that's something that if you work your ass off, you will get eventually to the first team. Is that one club mentality that I respect a lot that Richmond has and Steve Hill does. So yeah, that's the way they coach it.
Yeah, so obviously one of the oldest and most established clubs in the London area and well respected as well. Marcos, talk about youth rugby in Florida, what you took from it, and where you think perhaps if you things could improve on the youth side of things, and perhaps what you would say to a kid who's coming up and wanting to learn rugby.
So what I took from youth Florida rugby, it's just I don't know, it's a lot different than, for example, when I went to Argentina. I saw how the kids play there. When I was in Florida, we would play with our friends. We'd have a lot of fun. We'd have a tight group. I mean, most of my friends were from rugby, but I would see them a lot less than, for example, they see each other in Argentina because of what José said. They spend all Saturdays afterwards or all Sundays at the club. So the transition from Florida to Florida youth, thinking of my Florida youth to what they live in their youth is a lot different. But Florida youth is just, I don't know, my best friends are still from there, from Florida. Still keeping contact with all my most of my teammates.
I think as somebody else mentioned before, I think, it's the culture. It just hasn't quite got here yet.
Yeah.
There's just so many other things to do. I don't know whether we'll ever get to that stage. I was at my dad's house today and looking at the history of Florida rugby. They've been going since the late 60s and things probably today, rugby philosophy wise, maybe a little bit better, but still not that much different in that there's always going to be tons of other things to do. Go to the beach, go hang out with your friends. The weather here is perfect, 365 days a year. I think OKAPI has done and BISCAYNE both done a great job of bringing the sort of rugby culture from elsewhere to here. But and as somebody else said, getting out there and playing representative rugby and making yourself available for as much rugby as you can. Somebody will always find you, no matter whether you're playing for BISCAYNE, obviously one of the first youth teams in the history of Florida, but still one of the smallest number-wise size, at the high school level. But they obviously go all the way down. Not every team goes down to U8. So I think the key thing is to get out there and go to as many camps as you can. Obviously, financially, not everybody can afford to travel as far as, I'm hoping one of the good things that comes out of COVID is that we start doing some more regional stuff where we have a North Florida versus a South Florida team. And, with the attention that we're getting now from the likes of Rugby ATL and other MLR teams, they know that there's plenty of gold to be found here in Florida. You just got to sort of find it. Jose,
talking on that point, when I first went to the USA Rugby, the high school Americans with Salty, he told me, he was like, yeah, we don't really look at Florida. We don't think there's many players, but I think, Angus played on the US team. Domi is in England. José played USA South. I think we were very overlooked, and now it's starting, what you said, it's starting to grow. Florida is starting to grow as a rugby, as a good rugby state, for youth at least, or for high school and that.
No, for sure. I think California and Texas, where we can play year round, we're going to be handling ball year round. We might not have the the front three that you're going to find out in the Midwest where those cornflake boys, but I think we're always going to produce solid backs. Listen, in our first episode, we talked to Cam Dolan, and Alex Tucci, two guys that have come out of the Florida program. Malachi Esdale, as I mentioned at the start, re-signed now with Houston. So there's definitely a sort of a back slant with the Florida teams. Jose, there's obviously a big rugby connection between Argentina and Florida. How is Florida rugby looked at in Argentina?
There's good rugby
now we can hear
Florida.
You. There you go.
Now?
Yeah, we couldn't hear you, but we hear you better now. Keep going.
yeah, that people in Argentina wouldn't think the U.S. is, in general, a rugby team, but they don't see the difference between Florida or California, like you said.
Okay, just a US
Maybe
thing.
Florida is a couple of steps behind California. But like you said, when the alumni team came up to play against Life, I bet a lot of people were surprised. Everyone was going for alumni saying that they were going to beat the Life team, but they were surprised that actually the fly half
AJ McGinty, yep.
was it McKindy, the him. So hopefully it's a matter of time until the giant, the sleep giant, or whatever
No,
the
you're right,
translation is for the American talent to kind of exploit. And well, we see it in sevens, which is probably a more athleticism game, but hopefully it comes with it makes an effect on the 15 scheme.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously also seeing a lot of South Americans coming up to MLR now, especially with the Jaguares situation. A lot of Uruguayans as well playing. I know Toronto, I've got a couple of them. Toronto being one of the best sides in MLR. Angus, how is USA Rugby looked at? Obviously, you've got, I think you said 4 of you on the Cardiff Met. Obviously, the more of you that come over there and prove yourself, the better it'll get. But how is USA Rugby sort of looked at on that in Wales?
Obviously, they assume that the USA Rugby is really bad. But I think after now that there's been many players, moving over there and starting to play there, they realize that there's a lot of talent there. Obviously, I'd say that in terms of physicality and athleticism, the U.S. is probably ahead of other countries.
Yeah,
because there's a big this is really important in most sports played here, like football. They give a lot of attention to that. So I'd say maybe that's what helps the teams here in the U.S. But I think that there's a lot of potential, and the more that people start to move out and play in different places, the more that they will, earn respect for the U.S. Rugby.
Yeah, that's the one thing you always hear, I think, from teams that come touring here is just how physical the games are, which we have to make up in other areas. And our rugby intellect might not be as great because I haven't played as long, but I think the physical side of things, we definitely have an advantage. We had a question from Olivia. I'll give it to you, Angus, as you're here. How was your experience with the All-American program?
It was really good. I really liked playing for All-Americans. The first time I played was in the Can-Ams. We went over to Canada, but there was, it was a really good experience to play really high level with kids that are from all different states and places around the U.S. But the big experience was when we went over to Auckland in New Zealand and we played against Fiji. We played against the U19 All Blacks, and that was just a huge realization of what it's like to just play against countries that the only thing there is to do there is play rugby.
Now, quick question with that. With these All-Americans you played with, where did you keep in touch with them, sort of where they've ended up as opposed to your path that you've taken?
Yeah, a couple of them play at Life University.
Okay. Some
of them are playing I know one of them is playing in Davenport University, and then there's Tohi. I don't know if you know him, but he's playing, he's in I don't know if it's called the Academy, but he trains with in Chula Vista with the US Sevens team.
Okay.
Yeah, but most of them are just playing college rugby in the U.S., but some of them were juniors because it was a mix of juniors and seniors because obviously U19 is just everyone born in 2001, so it's from different grades in school. But some of them are considering moving outwards into different countries to play. I think one or two of them might be going to Cardiff Met.
Awesome. Yeah, you're going to be a good recruiter, I guess, now. Recruiting some of these All-Americans to come over and play in Wales. Well, let's get to, as always, we try to have a special guest. I know he's been hanging around the green room paying attention. So, Charlie, bring in our special guest. Make yourself useful. I assumed you were in here in the pre-show, Lucas, so they knew you were coming, but that's all right. Lucas Bystrucki, one of the first, I would think, Floridians at the youth level to get outside the state and really experience some success. Welcome to Talking Florida Rugby. Give us a bit of your rugby background for those of you. Actually, you might as well go through it all for those that don't know who you are.
So I also started playing Argentina in Manuel Belgrano when I was 5, and my dad works for Caterpillar, so we moved around a lot. So I was grateful that I got to experience many cultures. But I ended up in Weston when I was 15, and I got to Weston, and I wanted to play rugby, and there was no rugby team. And then I go to Fort Lauderdale Men's, and they said, "You're too young, you can't play." So with Josh Cross, who was playing at the moment with Fort Lauderdale, and Alejandro Sansegundo, who was a teammate of mine, we decided to start the Western Rugby Club. And then from there, I played high school there. And then I went to Florida with Kenny Simmons, which was an amazing experience. And every summer, I took the opportunity to just grow my game by traveling places. So I went to Australia, went to Japan, graduated college, went to the All-Americans, moved to Boston, played ARP, then moved to New Zealand, and then ended up in Atlanta. So 404, and now I jump ships.
Yeah, what's your role right now with 404? I know you played last year. Something you're planning to do again this year?
Well, I decided to take a step back because I did take a coaching role as the SNC coach for Life Men's Club and undergrad.
Okay.
So, you know, my playing career is open at the moment. You know, I'm never going to say no to jump in a game, but I'm prioritizing school. So I'm doing my master's at Life,
Awesome.
and coaching there at the moment. So I'll just be on the opposite side of the pitch this season.
Yeah, talk about some of those international opportunities you had, who you played with overseas, and just what you brought back, you know, from each of those countries.
Well, honestly, I got a little bit different experience every time. You know, Australia was my first international experience by myself. Like always, you know, being a teenager, you know, you're scared to go abroad. So I just say, like, the biggest thing when I took that chance was not to be afraid, just to take the opportunity to go out of your comfort zone. And I went with a company that specializes in taking, you know, young guys, especially from Europe. But I found this company online, and they take people to Australia, play with a club. So I was with the University of Queensland, playing there, and I played in the Rugby Academy. And I played with guys who are in the MLR right now. So, you know, small world. But, you know, like Con Foley playing in Orleans Gold, ended up being the 7th captain in Australia, went to the Olympics. So, there, I just got my first taste of the high performance environment. You know, watch Matt Giddo play in his prime, which was just amazing. And then every summer I got something different. When I went to Japan, it was one of those things that, you know, the rugby culture, the people that you get to meet throughout the years, you know, it's probably the best thing about the rugby culture here in the U.S. and all over the world. I met somebody who got me to Japan with the Panasonic Wild Knights. So I was in the professional environment there. You know, guys like Robbie Deans, Sonny Bill Williams, they were all there. I got to see how the Japanese and the work ethic there, it's just incredible. You know, that's one of the things that I took home with me, just working hard at your craft every single day. You know, no is too big for the role, you know, and no role is too small. So you always have to perfect the fundamentals, you know, and Scott Lawrence preaches that. So I'm sure Marcos knows that very well. And then when I went to New Zealand, I was part of the Hawke's Bay, the Magpies Global Academy. So I learned from a couple of guys who run the Maori All Blacks and a couple of guys who play for the Hurricanes. And that experience was just amazing because, you know, they treat you just like a professional player. And ended up coming back to Atlanta. You know, you see everything tie back in. And in the end, it all comes back to having the chances to be coached by high-level coaches, and focusing on the fundamentals. Even in every country that I've been to, that's the one thing that I've taken away. It's like, you know, even the All Blacks, you know, if you can catch and pass, you can transfer the ball in 1 or 2 steps, you know, you're golden. Everything else comes with time.
Awesome. And you said now you're part of the Life program. Talk about just that whole environment there, and obviously with Rugby ATL involved, you know, alongside them. Yeah.
So funny thing is, when I was in high school, we played, I don't know if you remember, the U.S. played a qualifier game with Uruguay in that in the cricket stadium down in. So we played the curtain raiser there against the Georgia under-20s. And at the moment, Dan Payne was the head of rugby at Life. And he came down there, and we had played, you know, Jake McFadden, Tristan Gray, Brendan Gray. We were all there in that team. And he came and he offered us a scholarship. Right? He's like, no, come, you know, we're starting an undergrad program at Life. I'm like, damn, I don't want to be a chiropractor. Like, I don't think I'll go there. I don't want to move to Atlanta to be a chiropractor. But, you know, you never say never. So with the Turns on Life, I ended up in Atlanta. And it's honestly the best program that I've ever seen, as far as just the way they carry themselves, the way they treat their players. You know, every player, you're in the most professional environment, or the closest professional environment to a professional team that you encounter in collegiate rugby. and that's why they've been so successful during the years. We not only focus on developing the best rugby players that we can, but also the best people that we can, because when they graduate, where they end up in life is far more important to us than where they end up on the rugby field. And it happens that they finish, either on the national team or on the MLR, which is great for them.
Awesome. All right, before we wrap things up, Lucas, just give us some advice to anybody, if any young kids might be watching this that are, just starting their rugby career or, started to get some attention from elsewhere, just about, any advice you would give for them on their rugby path.
Yeah, well, I think the guy said it all, is taking that opportunity and stepping outside your comfort zone and just taking the opportunity to go and travel as much as you can. I didn't mention this, but one of the best things that I could have ever done was going for that try at USA South back in 2013. And honestly, it's been one of my favorite experiences in the US. I've got to travel everywhere with that team and develop lifelong bonds. But if you never go out there and step outside your comfort zone, you're not going to achieve your potential on and off the field. So if you have the opportunity to travel, take it. And if you don't, look for one and take it.
Yeah, it's one of the most frustrating things I've seen in Florida rugby is that, some of these coaches, don't seem to want their players to play at the highest level that they can. They're too concerned about, winning titles. But, getting to play at that level, jump in a car, obviously, USA South reaching out down here now and life and the connection that university has with the state of Florida. There's plenty of opportunities for you to get seen. You just got to, get in a car. Listen, I know not everybody can afford to drive across the state, but, find some mates, split the gas, go up there and get yourself seen, because in the end, you just never know who's going to be watching a training session or a trial match, and you never know where you guys might end up. I mean, look around the screen. You've got guys playing in England, guys playing in Atlanta, guys playing in Argentina, and obviously Lucas now, involved at one of the highest level universities in the country. Well, gentlemen, Charlie, anything you want to add before we wrap it up here? Oh, I can't even. You're muted. You're muted. We can't, Kyle. We can't hear you, Charlie. He's already. There you go. Start again.
Thank you very much, guys. It's been very interesting, and hopefully, for the young kids out there that are looking how to, get better and have new opportunities, this is very enlightening. And even for the clubs, you guys sharing all that experience about how clubs are different in other parts of the world, I think it's something to look at very strongly.
Well, hopefully all of you get to play some rugby this fall. Tomás, good luck when you get back to England. Marcos, best of luck with 404. Hope to see you on an MLR pitch next year if I'm commentating the game. Lucas, obviously keep the good work up at live. Jose, best of luck in Argentina. And Angus, keep up the good work in Wales. I know Dai Young, again, I think we'll have a whole episode on Dai Young. He could tell some great stories, and I know he's helped promote the game and Florida youth around the world. So I thank you boys for joining us. Appreciate it. And obviously you can check us out. If you missed this live, you can check out the replay on rugbyfl.com/TFRO, or we're available on all major podcast platforms. I have no idea who we're having next week, Charlie. We had some people planned, and that seems like it's out the window now. So maybe we'll figure something out. Hopefully you'll have fixed your camera by then.
I'll try.
Gentlemen, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ross.
Cheers, boys.
Thank you guys for.
Y ahora